Hey, what's going on everyone? John Shea here. I just wanted to put together a quick video to talk a little bit about webinars. Now, this is something that, it's always been on my radar for many, many years. I've always been someone that's attended a lot of webinars, and I've really been interested in them, watching people, do some sort of presentation for about 40 minutes, and at the end, they usually pitch some kind of product. And of course, I found myself on many of these webinars always buying products. And, for a long time, I just never really thought to myself, why don't I go out there and do this myself? And as of recently, here in October, I'm recording this here in November, so just last month in October, I actually went out and I partnered with someone on a product launch. And at the end of the product launch, we decided to basically register all the buyers to a webinar. And we went out and ran this webinar, and we were able to bring in a total of over $10,000 in sales running just the same exact webinar on 2 separate dates. So it was completely mind-blowing. You can literally set up an hour-long webinar, go run this thing, just completely dominate it, and you're going to be able to go out there and literally you could make over $5,000 in a single hour presenting a particular course or presentation, if you follow the right steps and you use the right techniques. So what I've recently been doing is there's a platform that recently came out. It's actually currently live today. It went live here today on November 13th. It's a platform called Demio. And Demio is basically a solution to a lot of the other webinar platforms that are out there today in terms of adding in all these extra features and doing things and also making it extremely affordable. So for the next I think it's about 8 days they're running this promotion. They're going to have a grand opening pricing special for Demio. And what I really wanted to do for my own audience is, knowing how powerful these webinars really are, if you're at all curious about getting into this space, or if within the next year you plan to at least run one webinar, in my case, I made over $10,000 in a single week running my very first 2 webinars. It was just completely mind-blowing. I highly recommend going and checking out Demio. And the biggest reason I'm recommending Demio is that it offers all the same features and a ton more features in comparison to some of the other big competitors out there, like GoToWebinar, for example. And they allow you to get in on a really early bird price. I think for about $350 right now, you can get a full year of Demio, and you're going to be able to have up to 500 people attend on that webinar. Now, another thing that I'll tell you is that when I did these webinars, we had only about 100 people in attendance, and we were able to close about 20% of those people on each of the different webinars. So this worked out extremely well with even a rather small audience in comparison to what some other guys bring to these webinars. They could have 1,000 people. But I wanted to give you the option, don't be afraid to think, well, I can't really get many people on a webinar. It's not really going to take a whole lot of people to sell to. You could literally have 50 people on a webinar, and if you walk away from that webinar with $1,000, to me that's pretty exciting to be able to run a webinar for just an hour long and go in and actually profit from that. So in a second here, I'm actually going to walk you through a dashboard where I'll show you the profit that I've made from the first webinar that I did. And below this video, I'm going to leave a link so you can go check out Demio. They've got a grand opening webinar. You can go check out their webinar where they're going to walk you through all the Demio features. And I'm also going to throw in an additional bonus for anyone who decides to pick up Demio through me. I'm actually going to give you access to a mini course where I walk you through exactly the template that I use, the training that I use to go, basically run this particular webinar that I made over $10,000 on. And I'm going to show you pretty much everything that I did. I'll give you the template that you can use to go out there and build your own webinar template from. And you'll have all the access to this, as well as just some sort of backing proof to show you that this is something I went out and did myself, and you can go out and do it for yourself as well. So I'm really excited to have you go out there and really just start killing it with webinars. It's something that has completely opened my eyes in terms of the internet marketing industry and what you can really do. If you have been kind of sitting on the sidelines thinking, well, I can't run webinars, well, I think now is the time to really start considering it, especially that you look at some of these other platforms out there. They're really expensive in comparison to Demio, and now is a great time to get in on that ground floor level before the prices raise here within the next week. So again, thanks for checking this out, and I hope to see you on the other side. I'm going to bring you right in right now, and I'll show you my back end where I was able to make some serious money on a webinar. Okay, so I've brought you into my back end here of one of my payment platforms. Just basically wanted to quickly show you how many units I actually sold from running really my first webinar. I partnered up with someone by the name of Paul James, and some of you watching this may or may not know who he is, but we basically decided to partner up on this, and we were able to bring in over $10,000 running this webinar here to just on a couple different instances. So we ran the webinar just 2 times, and each time the audience was about 100 people. We were able to bring in on average about $22.88 for each on the EPCs, which is earnings per click. So each person that actually went and checked out the webinar and checked out the sales page for this converted around $22 per click, which is really, really high. And we also saw a pretty high conversion rate of about 11% on the funnel there. And my product has done fairly well. We've only gotten 2 refunds. So this is something that I just wanted to point out because it really opened my mind to the power of webinars. And if you're currently on the fence, I wanted to bring you through the sales page on Demio and just kind of show you some of the features and the things that they're talking about. It's now launched currently. It is the morning of November 9th here. And basically what they've done here is they put together this really awesome platform that's all built right in through all web-based. So nothing is, like going and downloading all these applications. It's really just very fluid experience. And I've been using it on some of my coaching calls during their beta program, and I've really been loving it. Now, the biggest thing I wanted to show you is this comparison chart. You can see that they have all these different features, such as like not needing to download anything, high quality streaming, doesn't use Google Hangouts, which is obviously not that great for Hangouts or webinars rather. And you have all these different things that they basically have that some of these other platforms don't have. And when you compare the pricing, you now have Demio around starting at $237 per year. And if you really get into some of the bigger ones like GoToWebinar, you're looking at almost $1,000 per year. And this was one thing that actually really scared me about webinars. Was I had always wanted to do one, but I didn't want to make these huge investments of like $100 to potentially go run this to my audience and find out that they're not going to buy anything, and then I've got all this money invested in a webinar platform that isn't working for me. So right now, this is going to be your best opportunity to go out there and really get a solid webinar platform. If you're planning to run webinars at all within the next year, I highly recommend even going with the $237 per year. That's going to get you up to 100 attendees, and that was about the attendance we had. We had around 90 to 100 people on my webinar, and that still did extremely well, as you can see. So don't be like, thinking, oh, I need to get the one with 500. If you are going to be able to bring that kind of people to a webinar, then definitely go for it. But I really just wanted to give you guys, the opportunity to pick this up because I think right now this is definitely one of the best platforms out there for webinars. They've been spending over 2 years building this. It's got some awesome functionality for like automatic email reminders, and they've got a custom thank you page. You can invite other coordinators to jump on the webinar with you, which is pretty awesome. You get individual chat messages. And another really big one for me was like with GoToWebinar, if people ask questions, it just kind of gets lost in a flood of messages. And with Demio, you actually can go back and answer those questions separately from all the people that have sent you messages. They offer a lot of customization with like automatic replay pages and tracking pixels for registration and the webinar room. Pretty much there's nothing left out. You can even, if you decide to sign up for this platform, you can also get extra users. So if you wanted someone else to be able to run webinars on your behalf, they have like certain permissions you can set up for other users. So they really have thought of everything. There really isn't much left out here. They even have analytics. You can check out how like the attendance of your webinar was, if people were paying attention. Understand who did what on your webinar. You can do like call to action. So if you have a product, you can actually put it in the chat and put like images and call to action buttons to go buy the product. So that's really cool. Typically a lot of people will just say, hey, here's the link, go buy it. Like this is a really cool way to kind of do that. So you've got a ton of features here, and they even integrate with a lot of these big CRMs, Zapier. So they really have spent a lot of time to get this going, and I definitely think that if you are all on the fence about going out there and running webinars, this is going to be the best option for you. Again, I also wanted to mention I put together a template here that I actually use for my own webinar. I'm going to include this template, and if you decide to buy through me, send me an email, And what I'll do is I'll actually give you the opportunity to check out a case study where I'm going to show you the exact webinar template that I used. I'm going to, basically this template, and I'm going to walk you through everything that I did to modify it into my own way. And then I'm going to show you the product that I promoted, the sales page, pretty much give you a case study of how I presented the whole thing and how we set up the entire funnel to get people into the webinar, everything that we did. So really wanted to give this as like a bonus for anyone that decides to buy through me. Again, don't skimp on this opportunity. If you've at all thought about webinars, I want you guys to pick up on this, and I really think it could change things for you if you haven't taken the time to go out there and start running them.